Hey everybody, welcome to Ow. Exposition Dump.
With 95% more dying.
Yeah.
Yay.
I inhaled
That's
when I
pretty
should have
appropriate in
exhaled.
the film.
Yeah, from all the smoke that happens in this movie.
Collateral Damage, the movie.
Yes, but best collateral damage ever. Yeah.
Man, this is how you do collateral damage.
Yes, this is how you do collateral damage appropriately. Godzilla does less damage than fucking Superman does.
Mostly not on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He seems to be pretty careful, but who cares? Let's get into the thingy. So we're not going to have a rundown here, because actually, just even running down this movie would spoil some things in this.
If you haven't seen this movie, you don't want it spoiled, get the fuck out now.
No, we're not doing it just yet. We got to at least get the scores in before we kick everybody out of the chat room. But, honestly, let's just start it off. Acting's good. I didn't have one problem with any of the actors, other than the way Ken Wabasabi says Godzilla all the time.
Godzilla.
He says it so fast, and
He's got to be paid to switch that to a J.
Yeah.
He's doing the stereotypical Godzilla.
Yeah, I mean this movie.
He's awesome.
This movie does follow the same problems that 99% of every Godzilla movie does. Is that it's slow as dicks.
It doesn't have one problem that a lot of them has. I just remembered.
A man in a
No
puppet.
creepy children.
There are homages to the children.
Yeah,
There are, but there's no creepy children singing.
Yeah, there are children in
Gamera!
there are children here that I wasn't intent on murdering any of them myself.
Yeah, but
Godzilla's friend to children.
Oh god.
not as much as Gamera is though.
True.
Gamera!
He plays like a moron.
Fucking love Gamera.
I really need to watch the new Gamera movies.
The new Gameras are badass.
I heard that. I just still can't believe that.
Who
Gamera
came up
could
with
be
the idea of a
badass.
turtle that when he pulls himself inside his shell turns into a fucking rocket?
I don't know. Probably the Japanese.
That suddenly makes sense.
So back to Godzilla.
Yes, back to the actual kaiju film where we watched here. No, I mean, like, the special effects, fucking amazing. Like I was telling everybody in in the D&D chat, like, if you guys are going to see this movie, you have to see this with the best theater, with the best theater system, like surround sound. The audio is key for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
They've done. I mean, to borrow from another review that I've watched recently, these guys have looked at the whole cinematography of it and realized that CGI isn't the point of this movie. This isn't Transformers. This isn't that sort of shit.
Well, yeah,
CGI
because you don't...
CGI is a tool to show what they want on the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the focus of the film. Everything is it's a mix of realism. It's a mix of CGI. They've spent money and effort. There's no,
There's nothing
no-
needless in this movie, as far as
Yeah.
what they put in it, as far as CGI goes.
You know those bits like in say Wolverine or the X-Men movies where, all the flashy stuff looks really good. The trailer shots, but every now and again you look at Wolverine's claws and they're like they look blatantly unfinished.
Or like when they
mean-
CGI something they don't need to.
Yeah, the entirety of Origins, where his claws were awful that entire movie.
Yes, where they didn't put the effort into that. There's none of this in this film. They put the effort into everything they did.
But I'm going to warn viewers now, if you're looking for a Godzilla movie, this is a Godzilla movie, but you're not going to get a whole lot of Godzilla. Because
You're thinking... Sorry.
because if you watch Godzilla, if you understand or watch Godzilla movies, they're not about him. They feature him. They're about the people and what goes on. It's the opposite of Transformers, where Transformers are about Transformers, and the people are just there for every other time when it comes to the cartoons and stuff like that. They're there to be featured during certain times. When it's Godzilla's the opposite. It focuses on the people, and then we get Godzilla later during what needs to happen. But it's mainly about the people and how they're dealing with what's going on around them.
It's like your traditional disaster movie, where it's structured like that, where it's the disaster's not really the focus of exactly what's happening. It's dealing with what's happening, or the results of what's happened.
Yeah. And that's what makes a Godzilla film, is They hit this shit spot on. It's a very slow build to an amazing end. Everything is worth it by the end. All the waiting and fucking exposition dumping and shit. By the time you get to the end of this movie and you see what happens and watch it, you're like, that was amazing. That whole fucking wait is worth it. But yeah,
It's a good movie.
you have to understand. Yeah, this fucking movie's amazing.
I'm here because I'm a Godzilla fan.
Huh?
It's like I'm here because I'm a Godzilla
Yeah,
fan.
let's set a baseline here. These two are already Godzilla fans.
Yes.
They went into this knowing the history and the backstory.
Yeah, I have been watching Godzilla
know of Godzilla. I am a huge monster movie fan, but I'll admit I haven't seen nearly any of the Godzilla movies.
You need to.
Yeah.
Somewhere on Netflix if you have Netflix.
It's
and
all of
obviously-
the 60s and 70s ones. Nothing past
Yeah.
that.
And obviously, Chris hasn't seen a movie, past, earlier than like 1980.
No, it's
Seven?
he hasn't seen a movie earlier than whenever we started this show.
No, he's seen Ghostbusters now, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I saw Ghostbusters like 12 years ago. Fuck you.
The only Chris,
Shit.
Chris, the only shows you've seen is like Air Bud. That's the only movies you've ever watched. Or
I've seen Air Bud a couple times. I
or-
don't think that's really the topic of discussion.
what are those movies that your brother was listing off that you guys have seen?
There was a lot of it. You had to listen to the Super Lario's brother show. I don't have the list on hand. Apparently, I made him see a lot of crap when I was a kid. He had to see a whole lot of movies after that for a while.
Stop judging me.
Yeah. I had
But-
to listen to you guys nerd out about Godzilla for another half hour. You can lay off me for a little bit. Barrel.
Chris, why are you even here?
I don't know. I mean, I already tell if anything I bring up is going to be either just like immediately brushed under the rug or immediately going to be like countered. So I'm just going to let you guys.
You get to look at it from a film fan point of view. From you're detached. You're not emotionally involved like these two are. You get to look at it from
But because we're emotionally
call bullshit on this.
because we're emotionally involved in it, we can explain away anything that he brings up. That's how it happens.
For me. I mean,
You're
it's
infallible.
supposed to be like the family review all over again.
That movie wasn't horrible.
It was pretty bad.
It wasn't horrible. It was bad, but it wasn't horrible.
It was awful.
Your face is horrible.
Yeah, that's about what I expected from this.
I don't know what's going on anymore.
But yeah, so Gav, as you're saying about this movie, you were explaining to why that you like or that you haven't seen a lot of Godzilla movies, but you like monster movies.
I'm a fan of the monster movies. These two are gonna be, they love the shit out. They love the hell out of this one already. Before they'd seen it, I think they were, you.
Well, no, I was excited for it. I didn't already love it because I had to see it first.
But for me, I'm a big fan of monster movies, and I for those that don't know, I was even planning on trying to do a show based on them and picking apart the real Drek. But this is, in regards to that whole point of view, this is a big thumbs up. This is 2 thumbs up. If there's one thing they have got right,
This
in the movie,
is
it's
2 thumbs up and a penis thumbs up.
It's a penis thumbs up.
Why does your penis have a thumb?
I don't know. I'm assuming Gav's is short and stubby, so kind of looks like a thumb. Yes, I'm imagining Gavin's penis right now.
Moving
No
on.
one else brought it up before you did either.
No.
Gav was going to settle with 2 thumbs up. You're the one who's like, and Gav's penis thumb.
Yeah, I'm starting to get worried now.
Gav penis.
So, back to Godzilla?
Yeah. Apparently Godzilla's a Munich because he doesn't have a dangly part.
It's an innie.
Yeah. He's like a dragonborn. It's an innie.
Yeah.
As you're saying, Gav.
No,
About
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. They've got. If there's one, there are flaws in this movie, but if there's one thing they've got right, it's the effects that they've used and the monsters and how they behave. This.
It looked like it came from a Godzilla movie too.
Yes, exactly. They really managed to capture that old style.
Mhm.
Wow.
When it came to Godzilla, he looked damn near like he should. The only thing I have a problem with Godzilla though is I'm gonna agree with the Japanese here. He is a little too on the chunky side.
Gibbo, have you seen that rubber suit from the old guns?
Yes, but he looks a little too bulky for how tall he is.
He has a fat
No,
neck.
His head's kind of small, his neck's kind of big, and his body's kind of big. Remember when the scene where he steps his foot down and you see his foot? It kind of looks like an elephant's foot. I expected it had like claws and shit like the original did.
I think he does. It was just a bad shot.
I think they were trying to get away from the claws after the horrible images that we'd all have from the '98 one.
No, I don't think so. I really don't think anything that has to do with the '98 one came into this director's mind. I think he's just like, that movie's disappeared.
I think
it didn't.
Well, no,
the
I think there
design
is a little bit of that, just because they were just trying to alleviate expectations that would happen from that movie. They were trying to make sure that it never entered our minds.
Yeah. Now we're still dancing around one thing that we can't bring up yet until spoilers.
I think they've got the design of Godzilla in this correct. For something that huge, just to support his weight, he has to be built like a walking triangle. It has to be smaller at the top. You know, that's how gravity works.
No, if he was real, weighing over 900 tons, the minute he got out of the water, he would die.
Exactly. So that's
no matter what, he would die. His heart's too big, his lungs are too big to breathe, and he would just fucking die.
Yeah. So they've done the best they can with what they've got. I don't mind the look of him.
It's a minor little gripe. I do think he's a little on the bulky side. I think a little bit more streamlined would have been nice. But I like the look. I mean, I like the look. I just think that he's a little heavy. That's it. I like the design of him. I think he's just a little heavy. That's all.
He looks a lot like a crocodile.
A little bit, yeah.
My buddy was calling him a turtle. I go, no, that's Gamera!
From what I understand, he was based on a cross between a monitor lizard and a bear.
I can see the bear.
Yeah.
I can easily see the bear, especially in the legs.
Yeah.
The short little stubby legs. You know he only walks 18 miles an hour in that movie?
Makes sense.
He can't go
super fast though.
He can't go 34 knots or 34 plus knots. But he can only walk 18 miles an hour. You can almost run faster than he walks. Well, not Chris or Gav.
Hey.
Actually run fucking 5Ks. What the fuck?
Yes, but you're slow.
That's so fucking vicious. I haven't even said anything about the movie yet.
I'm getting him in early, Chris. So what is your opinions on this movie, Chris?
I think it's an okay movie. It's not crazy good, it's not bad. You guys are just gonna geek out over this, so I'll try to take the more negative approach to things.
No, go ahead. No, say what you want. I promise I will not comment on it.
My basic feeling is that I think the movie's too long. I think it probably could cut about half an hour out of it.
It does feel like it's full 2 hour
Chris,
runtime.
I actually said that at the theater. They can cut a half hour out of this and be fine.
Because the movie, for like the first hour or so, is just kind of boring.
Yeah.
And I don't mean it. I mean, there's decent parts in it. There's stuff they're building up to, but it does just kind of drag on for a while, and the movie just kind of repeats itself after a while.
I got a question for you though. How would you do it differently though? I mean, like, the way I had it in my head, like
I'd cut out one of the major scenes of Aaron Tyler Johnson is in trouble. That happens like 5 times throughout the movie.
Yes.
There's just a point where you're like, look, I like Aaron Tyler Johnson. His character's a little bit in need of fleshing out a little bit more.
Well, the way I look at his character,
but it's just not enough that I care about seeing this guy for an hour and a half of whether or not he's going to survive the newest.
Hold on, I want to explain something here. Really
as I said before we started, though, he's basically there. He is the plot driver, and he comes up with so much as what I called plot stupidity to make sure this story ended up where it got to. They could have left out a good chunk of him, at least. I know Godzilla isn't always the focus; it's always the military side of it.
Yeah,
the Godzilla movie.
Well, it's the military or the just the average Joe that has to deal with it.
They didn't need him. They could have quite easily, and I know I'm trying not to spoil it, but they could have quite easily cut that character out of the film completely and left it with Bryan Cranston and Ken Watanabe.
Here's my thing. It doesn't have to be him. It could have been someone else. There wasn't anyone else because there's no one in this movie who's developed enough to really give a fuck what happens to them.
Yeah.
If we mentioned Ken Watanabe's character. Ken Watanabe's character is just there to be the Asian character in the movie.
Well, he's there to
of token.
he's there to expedite do the dumping of everything that's going on.
Yeah,
he's the one explaining everything to the audience.
But he's also the one who just sits there kind of for the trailer quotes. He doesn't add anything to the movie. He doesn't really impact the plot per se.
Yeah, but that's why
everyone just kind of knows about Godzilla fulfilling that. Could be a collection of characters.
The only bit of gravitas he adds is there's this again. It's not really a spoiler, but they're basically it's how they deal with Godzilla. They're planning on dropping a nuke on him, and he gives the guy who's in charge his dad's pocket watch that stopped the day. The Hiroshima bomb.
Yeah, I actually like that.
To try and give a bit of gravitas to say this is what you're about to do to your own soil.
Yeah, I actually like that.
That's the only bit of gravitas in this that he delivers. Other than that, he just stares at a wall and.
I can't really put up my defense for this part until we get to the spoiler part.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
But yeah. Well, also the reason why a lot of people had a problem with the military kid. Is that they felt him like he was soulless a lot, like he didn't care about anything. I'm like, and this is coming from a military standpoint. When you're in a situation like when you're overseas and shit like that, you gotta push things down, and then just deal with the situation that's at hand, and then you'll get to everything else later. I think something I got to bring up. I would have to bring up in a spoiler part, but there's something that happens that affects him deeply. But you don't see him react from much. That's probably because he's got to deal with a giant lizard attacking. So
you can kind of see him push it down too.
Yeah, he's got to push it down, and it'll come back up later. Like when everything's all said and done, he'll have it out after that. Because as a military person, you have a job to do, and you got to push that shit down to get your job done.
I just personally feel that he was not needed in this film.
I disagree with that.
It was one character. It was one.
He is needed. He is needed.
He's needed. I think he needed a supporting cast. I think he needed somebody else because almost everyone who surrounds him, you can just tell that they're just fodder.
Well, everyone that surrounds him aren't surrounding him. The biggest relationship he has is with his wife and kid on the phone.
And Godzilla.
Yeah,
you're bros.
They look at each other in longing ways.
He's got more screen time with Godzilla than he has with his wife.
It's actually true.
Bump at one point.
But all right, we got a lot of stuff we want to get into spoilers. Unless Christy, there's anything you want to tack on really quick.
Nope.
Okay.
Stop tiptoeing.
Yeah, we're gonna stop tiptoeing. We're gonna go into our scores. Chris, score.
Again, I don't think it's a bad movie, but I don't think it's particularly great. I give it about a B-.
Okay, Gavin.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a solid A.
Okay. Brandon.
If you're a Godzilla fan, A+. If you're not a Godzilla fan, A-.
For me, if you're a Godzilla fan, A fucking plus. It's gonna give you what you want. If you're not a Godzilla fan, but you want to see a destruction movie and shit like that, you're probably looking at a solid B+ for this movie.
Yeah, see, like I said, I'm a huge monster movie fan, and I loved the monster parts of this. I was just put off by the dragged out pace. I know that's how Godzilla.
Yeah,
runs,
that's just how it is.
From an outsider looking in, the pace dragged it down to an A for me.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to say, but yeah.
I mean, like
when you're used to it, it might not have affected your thing as much as before. But yeah, if you're a Godzilla fan and you watched all the movies and you understand how they work and shit like that, it just kind of rolls off your back that it's going to be slow.
Yeah.
Like today, I actually rewatched Biollante and King Ghidorah, the 80s ones, and there's no monsters in that movie until maybe halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
There's just fucking nothing. It's just build up and explaining how the plot's gonna go down, and then the second half is just shit happens.
All right. When it comes to this movie, we're gonna go into spoilers. There are massive spoilers of this movie. I am serious. If you want to watch this movie in theaters and not be surprised by something, stop. Do not listen to the rest of this. There's going to be 2 massive spoilers that really affect your viewing of this movie going in. At least I think they do. Not knowing one of them, when I found out one of them, it was amazing to see because I didn't see it coming. And if you don't want to get spoiled for this movie, do not keep listening. I please go watch this movie.
I would also
Watch
say
this
this
movie.
is definitely one of those movies you need to see in the theater.
Yeah.
This is the theater movie, folks.
Yeah. Best sound system. See it. All right. So, spoiler time. I love other monsters in Godzilla movies. Let's get this out there. Bryan Cranston dies.
I was gonna say, what are the two spoilers? The
Bryan
two
Cranston
heroes?
dies, and there's another monster.
Well, the reason why I laughed when you said two things that could spoil the movie, I'm like, what is it, Muto 1 and Muto 2?
Cranston is taken out of this at the end of the first reel, basically. And
He makes it through the first act, I'd say.
Okay, can I explain why my Watanabe part and Bryan Cranston part, really quick?
Yeah.
Why Bryan Cranston couldn't live? Because there'd be two scientists.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be saying the same things, and it doesn't make any sense to have two of the same character. I understand why they killed.
Because they're not the same character. This is something that basically they could quite easily have had Ken Watanabe's character be he supports Godzilla, so to speak. He's from that sort of. Whereas Bryan Cranston, all it sees is a monster that killed his wife, basically.
Well, Godzilla didn't kill his wife.
No, but he didn't.
The
But
Muto
it's
did.
this. Yeah, but that's the thing. It's if you're taking that character further forward and developed it, it doesn't matter what monster it was, and then you get the resolution where at the end, imagine it's Bryan Cranston and not his son that does that little look to Godzilla, and realizes they're in the.
That would have
same
been
fight.
awkward, I think.
Here's something that is very important about his character. He is the stereotype in a disaster movie of the crazy person. The crazy person who thinks, no, it's not that. It's this. It's totally this. That's who he is in that movie. And in every single disaster film, when that person is validated, they die.
Kind of like,
That happens in every disaster movie.
oh, what's his name? The guy in 2012.
Yes. The
What's
Woody
his-
Harrelson's
Woody Harrelson, yeah. He gets smashed by a
That
meteor.
is exactly
Or,
what happens in every
by Volcano
single
Rock.
disaster film.
Yeah.
There's the guy who's
just-
like screaming to the heavens that it's not this, it's aliens.
They should have made Bryan Cranston's character the Watanabe character,
Yeah.
and then made the Watanabe character Bryan Cranston.
See, I like.
But they would have killed off their
saying
only
him.
Asian at that point.
Well, no, my problem with changing them is Watanabe's connection to Hiroshima is much better and stronger.
Yes. I do think the only thing that he looks like the Cloverfield monster in. I defend this, and I think it's stupid. The only thing that's like the Cloverfield monster are its legs, and that is it.
Yeah. It's
Nothing
simply-
else looks like the Cloverfield monster.
You could quite easily say. I mean, I've actually got the IMDb page up here about the inspirations for them, and I was thinking Star Trek Troopers all the way through, and
Yeah, they look more like Star Trek Troopers.
supposedly, hang on, I've got to find it. The Mutos were inspired by King Kong, which you can see in the movement of the big Muto.
The female.
The female. Alien, Jurassic Park, obviously, and Starship Troopers.
Yeah. I the only time I see Cloverfield in there is in the legs, those hooked up back legs or front legs. That's it. Other than that, and the little
You
ones.
see that in nature. That's it's like a mantis or something.
Yeah, and the little front one, and the little ones behind the back legs, or behind the front legs. That's it. That's the only thing I see from Cloverfield. So I don't understand why people bitch so much about it. The head looks nothing like Cloverfield. The body looks nothing like Cloverfield. The only reason why people say it looks like him is because they show the legs a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just get over it. It's just legs.
It's insectoid legs. That's
Yeah.
what insectoid
Well,
legs
they're
are.
supposed
It's
to be.
almost like they were inspired by similar things.
They're supposed to be parasites. I understand why they have legs like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get it sometimes. But
Next up on the agenda.
yeah.
Next action item.
What'd you guys think of the atomic breath? Do you think it looked good?
Oh my god.
I
I
get
think it needed to be a little bigger,
Bigger.
volume-wise. It was a little too thin for my taste, but other than that, that's just nitpicky.
Mhm.
It was the
Yeah.
right color. I like the build-up. I like the fact that it was a little different from the classic movies where his scales just sparked.
It
Yeah.
was a little bit too long on the build-up.
No.
No.
If they would have showed it sooner, I would have been disappointed.
No. I don't mean teasing into
Or
it.
how
I mean
long it takes them to charge it.
Yes.
No.
When you first see his tail come into screen and you see the very tip of his tail, the spines start to glow, it's like a fucking anime attack building up. You see, like, the camera almost does a 360 around him as he follows the spines going all the way up.
Yeah, but it's again, you can explain this away with originals too. He charges it like the originals.
Yeah, I just don't think it's a very quick charge, especially considering towards the end the second one is a much quicker charge.
Well, I think like it's one of those things like once you start using it, it's quicker, but the first time it takes longer.
Yeah, I mean it was a good scene. Don't get me wrong, it was a great scene. I just think
Fuck yeah! The minute you see that tail flip up into the air and it's going blue, you're just like, oh shit! Here we go. Shit's gonna get amazing.
They do a couple of little teasers as you can see he's trying, but this is the thing that caught me out with it. This is why that seemed too long, because in the teasers that they think, oh shit, he's going for it.
Yeah.
All he does is there's no blue. He just breathes in.
Well, even in the thing like he's trying to charge it, we're also seeing it from the front, so we can't actually see his tail and spines on his back. So we can't actually say if they're like starting to glow or not.
If you're gonna charge, it's like I say, for me, it's the rule of anime. If you're going to charge fast, it's a weak shot. If you're going to charge that long, that should have been a finisher.
Nah, I see it as a first use, it takes longer, and then once everything's warmed up, kind of like a diesel engine, once everything warms up, it comes up faster. No, that's how I viewed it.
Okay.
But, I mean, I didn't have any problem with it. I liked it. It let that slow charge and that build up, like everybody's just waiting, charging, just fire it, and when he fires it, you're just like, yes!
That first firing scene, I am waiting for the screen caps to start showing up because that's going to be my background wallpaper.
But yeah, I think it looked good. I had fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the ending when he rips off or shoots that beam down the fucking other monster's mouth and rips off of their head.
When he gets to the final kill, he does, and supposedly it's deliberate. You know, King Kong's signature kill, where he basically opens an enemy's jaw and rips it off.
Yeah.
Godzilla starts doing that with the Muto. And he gets to the point where it's why did you think, oh, they're just going to do it? And then you see the tail glow. And the entire audience like, do it, fuck yeah!
He launches that beam right down his fucking throat. Rips his head off.
Shoot the whoop!
And then the head he holds onto the head for a little bit and just drops it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And then he lays down for a bit.
Yeah, he decides to walk back into the city for some reason, then just says, I'm off for a nap.
Yeah, I do like that, though. Like you don't see Godzilla just powerhousing through these monsters. He gets his ass beat, and he gets fucking tired.
Yeah, there's no Highland fling in this one.
Yeah, he lays down twice. Well, he doesn't lay down because he wants to when the building falls on him, but...
Yeah, this isn't Power Ranger fighting that you got in the old one. This isn't swinging at rubber costumes and bumping off each other. You see these things are fighting beasts. There's chunks being torn out. There's impale on these spindly legs. There's slashes, gouges. This is brutal monster fighting.
Godzilla tail whipping one into a building, squishing it like a fucking bug.
Yeah,
that was awesome. I didn't think that was gonna, the minute I saw him to get ready to turn, I'm like, yeah, he's gonna squish him. But I didn't think it'd kill him when it died. I was like, oh shit, he hit him hard.
It shows it with girders and shit poking through it, so he's managed to smush it straight into the building.
Yeah, I didn't think it would kill it, and then you see how hard he hits him, and then he hits him the spike end of his tail too.
Yeah,
and he slams him into the building, and then you see Godzilla kind of look at him and scoff at it.
Done.
Yeah, they actually give Godzilla some emotions in this, which is great, like the originals.
Yeah, from what I said before, I hate in a monster film where you can tell the guy who's written this monster doesn't understand how animals are supposed to think.
Yeah,
you'll see some monster films where it's literally premeditated murder. In the basic animal instinct is animals kill for protection and for food. They don't murder for no apparent reason. And you see that in a lot of movies where it's just like, and you're dead.
Yeah.
For no reason. in this, I don't, for whatever reason, I normally despise that sort of action where there's intelligence behind the beast, but with Godzilla I accept it because they build him up that he's more. So although it's a monster, he's a beast. He acts like a beast. They call him the alpha predator. You know, that's what his role is in the world, is to hunt these other monsters basically. So that's his natural role, but he does have that little bit of intelligence. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't want to crush all these little fucking insect people running around. He's after that big fucker there, and he's gonna,
Yeah.
that's all he wants.
But this is also the most polite Godzilla I have ever seen.
Yeah.
He will tiptoe over a building, or not over a building, but over some stuff and go underneath some ships, and he doesn't mind being chased or being followed by a bunch of cruisers and carriers.
They also managed to do that. You know the bits in the original movies that I have seen, where the military will try and fight them off, and it's basically sparklers.
Yeah.
It's meant to be missiles and shit, but it's just like fucking streamers over their head.
Yeah.
They managed to recreate that really well in this. There's missiles and bullets and all sorts of shit flying over, and he's like,
he doesn't give one shit about us.
Shit. He's like, yeah, get out of the way. I mean, the Mutos react every now and again when something stings them, but Godzilla's like,
well, yeah, we don't see any very clear shots to Godzilla's dome from the military. We see him a lot hit like the body, so I don't think
they only really fire at him twice. One when he first emerges in Hawaii, because obviously it's a big fucking monster, and the second they're told to stand down. The problem is they've managed to barricade the San Francisco Bay, which is where Godzilla's going. And he's done everything he can to avoid hurting these ships. He's dived underneath these cruisers that are in his way rather than tearing through them, and all this sort of stuff. And then they're just parked there, and he's like, "Well, guys, for fuck's sake,
get off the bridge! I need to go through."
He tries to go under, and it ends up spooking one of them because he comes up.
Yeah.
And this fucking, I don't know. I mean, it's probably a bad representation of the military, but the first fucking salvo of missiles that this thing fires in panic.
Yeah.
Flies everywhere, hitting the fucking bridge. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? And to his credit, Godzilla just stands in front of the bridge like, are you going to clear this or what?
Come on, I got places to be.
He grabbed
monsters to kill.
Cables, and he's like, I'm going to break this in a minute, get out of the way. Okay.
Yeah, he loves civilians. He hates military guys because he'll let those guys die no matter what. Because when he broke through those bridges, there's probably at least 150 military guys that died on there.
And everything, but the whole point of that scene is basically there's a school bus.
Yeah, he at least lets the school bus go through with kids.
Yeah, it's the protagonist's son.
Yeah.
Why they were still fucking there? I said this in the pre-show. Why the fuck they were there? I do not know. This is the problem I had with this guy. This is plot stupidity at its worst. You're flying on a cruiser from Hawaii to San Francisco, where these big fucking monsters are all converging. Your plan is to fire off a nuke 20 miles off the coast of that same city. Your wife and son are there waiting. What do you say to them? A, wait there. I'll come. Don't know what I'm going to do when I get there, but I'll be there soon. Or B, New York's lovely this time of year. Fuck off.
I think we're forgetting something with that scene, though. Because I think he says, wait there, I'll be there, and then he's on his way. And I think circumstances change while he's on his way.
He decides to jump aboard the nuke train.
Yeah, because I think if he wouldn't have stopped or done the nuke train, I think he would have been there and everything would have been fine. That he would have been there before the monsters got there and before the nuke shit happened.
And then we get the scene with the nuke train.
Yeah, that was a little...
No, the nuke train is what he had. The only way he was going to get to San Francisco. There was no other way to get there. That's why he got on the train. That's why he positioned to get on it, because it was the only way to get to San Francisco. What happens is the train gets fucking blown up halfway through, and he gets knocked out for a day, and then has to get in after the train would get there. So it's because the train gets attacked that he's not able to get there on time. I mean, regardless of what happened, I imagine situation of getting out of San Francisco at that time was already limited. I mean, the attacks in Las Vegas had already happened, so I think the people who had already gotten out of San Francisco were already long gone, and everyone else was
they do the They do the stereotypical newscast of evacuate in an orderly manner and please stay off the roads. Cut to a fucking completely
Yeah.
traffic jam, the interstate. But then there's the scene on the fucking train where they come to this tunnel and they can hear this thing screeching. You know,
Yeah.
they're attracted to nuclear energy, and they've got like 6 nukes on the back of this thing.
Nah, it's just
you
the
just-
one.
No, because if you notice, a couple of them drop and just like they're not armed, so they'll like leave them there. He swallow. I know the male swallows 2, I think. But yeah, there's this bit when you hear him screeching, you hear gunfire, and the guy gets on the radio and is like,
Is the bridge clear? Yeah.
And all you hear is gunfire, people screaming, "Oh, we're dying!" Is that a yes? And it's like,
Yeah, I agree, but I like the scene of like the whole fucking monster like walking up underneath the
but the
off
thing
the
is,
bridge.
they go through, right? They go through the bridge.
That's a good scene, by the way. I just wanted to cut in. I'm gonna have very few moments where I'm gonna be able to say anything cool. That is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Is where the two of them are laying on the bridge and the monster's walking across.
Yeah.
that was a
It's
really
a
cool scene.
fantastic scene, but they then go through that tunnel to investigate. Where were the guys that they were asking if the bridge was clear?
They sent them to cross the bridge.
They sent 4 guys out, 2 on top, 2 below.
Yes.
The rest of the team.
So who are they talking to before?
The guys upriver. That's why when you eventually see the wreckage, it was floating downriver.
I suppose. But I just think that's a stupid. There is a lot of.
It's a
plot
forced
convenience.
scene,
Yes.
but it's a good show of the monsters.
I also feel that they're on a train. It's not like they can go, well, let's go around the thing now.
no, see,
They don't have that many other choices.
In the chat's just pointed it out. The nuke train happens. It's sabotaged. The Mutos steal the nukes basically.
Except for one.
Except for one.
Mm-hmm.
So then they decide to fly in a chopper, pick the nuke up, and fly it there themselves.
It was because they realized they couldn't use a train again.
I think it has to do with the flight, the flying Muto, which
Yeah.
we don't get much. Like this is a movie that doesn't give you some explanation where you need it.
Also,
To
another-
why they could fly that time and why they couldn't fly before.
Yeah.
I think it actually has to do with the fact that
If they-
the female Muto, which is the one that was messing with them, is further away. Because they do bring up that it has a sphere of influence.
Yeah, they basically the male Muto can fire off an EMP. The female is basically a walking EMP generator within a certain range of itself.
Yeah.
The thing is, right, and this is where the collateral damage porn comes in. Okay, you know about the EMPs.
Mm-hmm.
The whole plan to get into the city is to fly above the EMP.
Mm-hmm.
So how come when the monsters arrive in San Francisco, you've got fighter jets falling out the fucking sky? What were they doing anywhere near range?
Dumb
The
pilots.
flying Muto was in the air.
We never see him do an EMP while flying though, so we can't
No.
assume that he can do it while flying.
You've just got fighter jets falling out the skies.
Yeah, I'm
Into
assuming that's
the
because
boat.
the females generated one. That
I
they
actually assume it's the male at that point.
because
He follows it right,
There is
right
a
after.
lot of plot convenient stupidity in this film.
yeah, but
I-
Brent, you can't assume anything that's not told to you.
I could assume everything I damn well please.
It doesn't
Mainly
make any
because
sense to
The main reason that you can assume that, and it actually makes sense to assume that, is they follow the sky, then within 30 seconds after that happening, it follows. It falls on the nuke.
Well, yeah, it does that. It does the dive bomb. But
Yeah.
That's right after that scene.
Yeah, but maybe then we don't know if they're being knocked out by an EMP because we don't ever see it do anything in,
No,
in
you
the
do.
air.
You see them. They lose control,
Yeah. Okay. Then there's.
and there's a couple that you actually see the whole scene play out. There's
It
like
must have.
three-
He must
there's
have
like
landed
three jets
for
that
it.
all eject. You actually see the
Yeah.
parachutes.
Yeah. Either he did on land or he did it in air, and we never saw it. Which I'd rather like to see him if he can do it in the air. I would like to have seen it.
I actually think they didn't show it just so that you have the dive bomb come as a bit more surprise. They sacrificed the tell to have the bigger moment be bigger.
Well, if you see the planes go down, you know one of them's nearby.
Yeah, but you didn't know it was going to be directly above them, dive bombing straight down, because there's no tell that there's one flying above them until it actually goes straight down.
Yeah,
No,
that was a pretty cool effect. A cool little scene. I like that.
But that's my feeling on that, is they sacrificed it for that reason.
Let's see here. What else can we talk about, or is that going to be it?
I missed a bunch.
Yeah, you did.
Sorry. Something
Cool.
I had to deal with.
Not a problem. But we are open-ended for a sequel. Cannot wait.
Yeah. Well, like I say, the guy that's directing it has already said he wants to do Monster Island, and I think they put pen to paper that there is going to be a sequel.
Is it just a Monster Island and then a sequel to Godzilla, or is it Godzilla 2 Monster Island?
The sequel to be pretty much Destroy All Monsters. He wants to possibly build it up to that.
Is he going for a trilogy or just a duel?
He specifically said what it came to sequels is that he's taking them one at a time. So that's why he said that the ending of Godzilla is final for its movie. It doesn't set up a sequel; it just allows it to happen.
But it teases others.
Those teases are really more they're just Easter eggs. They're not really saying, "Oh, that's gonna happen." Yeah. They're not like Marvel teases.
But they could say that could happen.
I was actually. I'm glad you brought Marvel up, because I was actually thinking that this would be a fantastic. I think I brought this up actually when we did the previews and the trailers. This would make a fantastic series to take and run this Marvel style. You could quite easily build a full film franchise around this.
Like a Godzilla movie, a Rodan movie,
Mothra, Gamera. You could bring them all in.
Hopefully it's not 60s Gamera or 70s Gamera. 60s or 70s.
You could bring them all in one at a time and then build up from there.
And then have a Destroy All Monsters at the end where they all fight to the death. And
I think the main reason that they want to do Destroy All Monsters / Monster Island is so that they can say there are a bunch of other monsters. And I think that's how they want to introduce that there are other named monsters out there.
Well, they've already introduced that there are other monsters in this movie by one line, saying these monsters burrow deep into the Earth's core to absorb the energy.
They've opening them up.
Yeah, they do try and make it out that basically Godzilla is not a mutated lizard. It's not a result of the atomic bomb. These are prehistoric, pre-dinosaur creatures. Yeah. Basically, I think the explanation they give at the start of the film is they lived off when the Earth was was young and highly radiated. These creatures
when the atmosphere was thinner.
Yeah, they could live on the surface because of the surface radiation. But as the Earth became less and less, it became more suitable for us to live on it. They had to dig because the core is still radioactive. Mm-hmm. So they basically dug down, and then they live in the subterranean.
All of the speculation's awesome and all. It all depends on Toho at this point, because that's why we got Mutos. I mean, they get named guys. It's because they only gave the rights to Godzilla. Because I think they were a little burned after the '98 Godzilla.
They signed off on it.
I think if they
signed off on it, but if you notice, that's why they didn't give us anything else other than Godzilla.
Well, yeah, no, we've had the Godzilla American distribution rights for that for years.
I know, but they didn't give us the rights to do anything else.
Yeah,
and that is the reason. And after this is probably when, if Toho likes this movie, they'll go, "Oh, here's the rights to the villains."
Yeah, they can do this.
They did like it.
That's what they were waiting for, is to see if we are actually able to make a decent Godzilla movie.
Yes, not a giant reptile that can change size and disappear at a whim.
Not a Zilla movie, a Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently this did go over well in Japan.
It hasn't premiered there yet.
From what the early screenings to it, yeah.
Yeah, but it hasn't gotten wide release there yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know
it'll have its tests and stuff.
The guy who did the original Godzilla liked it.
I don't think it's getting wide Japan release until the end of the month. I know it's the last territory to get Godzilla, of all things.
I don't know. Hey, did you hear that they might be doing a Sailor Moon live action movie?
Oh, good lord.
So back to Godzilla.
Okay, as the fans, I've got to ask you one question.
Yes, dear.
I'm looking through the trivia stuff.
Uh-huh.
The sound designers of this film used a 12-foot high, 18-foot wide speaker array to get a good idea of Godzilla's vocal power and strength. Did they get the roar right?
Okay. The roar is a cross between the 60s and 50s and 60s, or 50s and 70s.
Cleaned up, of course.
It's a cross between those two with something new. It's a very good adaptation to what the 50s and 60s or 50s and 70s were.
I felt it was missing the bass
No, it had the bass. It had the bass.
thing at the end.
I felt it in my fucking chest. There's bass there.
No, the bass, not the bass. You know the
rumble at the end.
Yeah, you can tell it's basically dragging a bow across the strings of a bass.
Yeah, well, that's how they make his. That's actually how they do his roar. Is a bass wood instrument thingy.
Yeah.
It has it, but I don't think it's nearly as pronounced as before. And he doesn't do it all the time. His roars, most of his roars seem to be shorter. But there's two times, like when you first hear his roar, he does drown it out to where you get that long roar. Then you hear the bellow at the end.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do it like in the originals. He doesn't do it all the time to where he has that drawn out roar. So that's why I was okay with it.
Step, roar.
Yeah.
Step, roar.
Yeah.
The one thing I was pissed is that I knew they probably couldn't do it, but I wanted his theme.
Yeah, they probably could not get the theme.
I wanted a remake of the theme or the exact theme where, like that battle theme that they always have for him.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be one of those things that this, like, when the sequel comes out, all of this stuff that's missing is gonna start popping up because now they have faith in us actually making a Godzilla movie. So we're actually gonna get those things.
Yeah.
I love that theme. If you guys haven't heard that theme, you got to listen to it.
Yeah. Again, in the chat, this just brought up another good point, and this is going off on a tangent of another film that's been announced.
Yeah, I hope it's like a. Is it like
If they do those parts like this, if they take a note out of Godzilla for the giant bits, I would be happy.
I'm hoping for if they're gonna do like a Power Rangers, I'm hoping for like a PG-13 or rated R. That'd be hilarious and awesome. Wouldn't that be awesome?
I don't know. I don't think they do that. I mean, I think they're aware now that. I mean, the thing is they're rebooting the original series and basically retelling that first story. So they know their fan base now is at least 20, 30 years old.
I want a dark Power Rangers. I want a dark Power Rangers.
Guillermo del Toro's Power Rangers.
What?
Guillermo del Toro's Power Rangers.
No, he'd fuck it up because Guillermo del Toro sucks.
See, this is the thing.
He's awesome.
This time last month, I'd have said, "Oh, I'd love a Power Rangers sort of thing with the Megazord looking like Pacific Rim." No, fuck that. I want it to look like this. This is better
than Pacific. Oh, fuck yeah, it's better than Pacific Rim.
They're different movies.
No, I mean the effects wise, I think Godzilla is a much more believable monster than any of the kaiju.
I think it has to do with how much money they put into this movie. Because I think what happened after, because you can definitely tell that they learned from Pacific Rim marketing and effects wise from that movie.
Pacific Rims look like rubber.
I think that was also the point, but they learned from especially how to market the movie from Pacific Rim, which is why this is marketed a lot differently than that, because they were saying, like, by the way, this is a disaster movie. There just happens to be monsters in it.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest takeaway that I took from this movie, is that's marketing in a nutshell, is that's what they had to do to make sure that they got butts in seats for this.
I think they did. I think they did this film really, really clever. If we look at Pacific Rim, okay, they did everything they did for hyper realism. Okay, so the creatures move as real creatures. The robots move with the clunkiness of robots, but with all that weight. So there's a lot of realism in there. With Godzilla, they've gone real, they've gone modern, but there's just a touch of the cheesy 80s, string, rubber monster on strings sort of thing. I mentioned it in the pre-show. The Muto, the flying one,
the male.
That thing, the male, that should not be capable of flight, and it flies stiff-winged like Mothra, like Rodan used to. It looks like it's on strings, but they've managed to make it look like it realistically is capable of flight. It doesn't flap like a bird. It doesn't, it glides everywhere. And it's reminiscent of the old style, but it doesn't look out of place. And I think they've taken enough realism and enough ridiculousness and just managed to find a really good mix.
Oh, Gav, if you ever do Godzilla monsters, let me know.
That's the thing. I'm a huge, like I say, I'm a huge monster fan. I know most of the monsters. I just haven't bothered watching the films.
King Ghidorah all day, every day.
There's one thing
Mecha
about
Ghidorah.
there's one thing about this series I can't see them doing. I can't see them doing Mechagodzilla, because by the established technology that this world has, I can't see them building Mechagodzilla.
I don't care. I want it to happen.
Short of somebody recovering the bits of the Mutos and seeing if there's any sort of with their bone structure or physiology they can copy. I don't think I don't think I could accept Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, if we had laser tanks and shit like that, I'd be like, okay, we can get Mechagodzilla. I can understand it.
Yeah,
but
I think it's going to be one of those things that since they've now seen, the world has now seen what exists in our world, that's going to start happening, especially in the second movie. I wouldn't be surprised if in the second movie we're not going to see an acceleration of weapons tech because, there's giant fucking monsters now,
well, and
we didn't do shit against them.
They did it with Transformers. They had the excuse that the Cybertronians lent them technology.
Well, and here is the difference is that we didn't really need to accelerate that much, and all of a sudden we see things that are impervious to our weapons.
Hold on.
Human weapons are designed to kill humans. Let's be blunt with it.
But
so there's only a limit you've got to go to.
We can't hyper accelerate our technology that fast. You can't show us Godzilla and be like, oh shit, there's monsters we can't kill with firearms, and then immediately 10 years or 5 years later have phased laser guns.
I will argue that point. Right? Who's going to fund a super death? If some inventor came up and says, "I've got this super death laser that can annihilate an entire city in one shot, but it'll cost $50 billion or whatever." Any military funding, that sort of thing, are going to go, it's fine, we've got bombs.
Yeah, but
we can kill people fine with that. We don't need.
But we don't have that.
We don't need a BFG.
We don't have that.
There's rail technology. There's laser technology, but it's not funded on that sort of scale. I think there is quite easily a possibility of.
Do you know how much the U.S. government spends on defense funding?
Yeah.
I'm just saying at this point, funding is definitely going to switch from conventional weapons to going outside the box. And what I mean is that in the next movie we'll see an advance, not. But
do you know how long?
Advance.
Do you know how long we've been trying to build railguns?
I'm saying there's going to be a bit of a difference.
The mother of invention.
The moment that you start seeing giant fucking monsters leveling cities,
you start researching that shit.
You start rethinking certain things.
I'd see it in the next 25 to 50 years. Yeah, I see us having it.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is that they're doing that so we can actually have more interesting things happen in these movies. Because you can't have this exact same kind of a military plot again. You can't. You have to change things. So in other words, they're going to start throwing experimental tech.
If that was true,
to keep it interesting.
If that were true, Godzilla movies would be completely different than what they are. Because
watch
every
single Godzilla movie, they throw something new at him.
Yes, but we still get a repeat of the laser guns up until the very end. We're like, oh, we have developed this stupid new weapon that we've just happened to pull out of our ass. That's the only thing I've hated from fucking Godzilla movies, that they always happen to have a weapon that they pull out of their ass to use.
Well, it's mainly because you can't keep having the same exact things happen. They have to change it a little bit each time, or else you're just going to have the same shots of, well, let's take out our tanks and start shooting Godzilla.
But they do!
The same exact thing isn't happening. Each time they do a little thing different. They're like, oh, now we have this slightly new weapon on these tanks. Oh, they still got destroyed.
GLP-4X. Yes, they should also be using railguns also. But they're for defensive purposes and shit like that only. They're meant to be to shoot down guided missiles and shit like that. They're not. We haven't completely weaponized laser technology yet.
But I'm just saying that there's going to be
150-foot monster stomping on your coastline. You'd weaponize them.
If you have North Korea or any other country, you'd weaponize them.
Well, you know what I mean.
Well, no, I'm just saying that what's going to end up happening is in the next movie you're going to see big versions of lasers. Then the next movie slightly smaller
I don't think
versions
so.
of lasers. And then the next movie is going to be like possibly handheld ones.
I don't
That's-
see lasers at all in the next Godzilla movie.
We're gonna need a bigger gun.
Oh, that's the one thing when Godzilla was swimming and stopped in front of the boats.
Yeah.
I looked over and I went to Jay and go, "We're gonna need a bigger boat." She punched me in the shoulder.
But I actually do hope they do a Mecha Godzilla. I really do.
I don't see it until the third.
I can totally
That's
see
what I
them.
was alluding to. There has to be
Yeah.
a build-up in tech. That's why the second movie there's going to be
I
a
can
build-up
totally
in
see
tech.
them-
So
I
the
can't
third
remember-
movie we could have Mecha.
I can't remember what they called it, but there was like a rolling battle tank that they built. That was like basically everything new and super weapon that they could possibly put on it.
In Godzilla universe or world
I
universe?
believe so. I think they took not took piss, but they homaged it in one of the latest seasons of Power Rangers, with the Rye-made battle tank that actually transforms into a Godzilla-like monster. I just can't remember the name of it now. But it was like a rolling fortress sort of thing. But it had these super weapons, and that's where they were. You know, they hadn't distributed them to the entire force. They had one weapon, this rolling fortress that was to be used to defeat these sort of monsters.
Godzilla movie?
I'm sure it was. It might have been something similar, but
Yeah, it's not ringing a bell when it comes to Godzilla movie.
I'm thinking it's going to be like the flying thing from, well, it's in King Ghidorah, and I think it's in Biollante. What's
Spaceship?
the one before Godzilla versus King Ghidorah? I can't remember which one's right before that one. Fuck. But they have, and I know in King Ghidorah is when it comes back, because they rebuild it.
Spaceship.
It's not really a spaceship, it's actually terrestrial made, but it's the one that reflects the lasers.
It's a
yeah,
spaceship.
Mealmox. It's a drill tank.
It's not a spaceship.
No, we're on two different tracks here.
I know,
Yeah.
but I was alluding to what I'm talking about. There's gonna be like the one thing, and in those 80s, 90s ones, is they had that one flying thing that was able to reflect the atomic breath back at him.
Yeah. That's my point. Yeah, it's basically there'd be one big super weapon. It'd have to be mobile because the base would be too vulnerable. You know, they'd basically put everything they could into this big secret thing they could roll out. Because that's in standing with Godzilla's stupidity. You know, ridiculousness. They wouldn't bother with full global defenses. It'd be just this one massive rolling tank that could, like, fight them off.
And then in traditional Godzilla movie ways, the first
Oh!
half is about building things up.
Oh, the flying drill submarine.
The flying drill submarine.
It's what it is. I'm looking at it right now. Here. Tell me if this is it.
Waiting.
It's in the chat room. Other chat room. Ours.
That thing. Wasn't that also in the Millennials?
Fuck if
Kinda,
I
yeah.
know. But yeah,
Something
that's...
like that.
Fuck if I remember. But yeah, that's the flying drill submarine.
I'm gonna look at it based on the name in the file description.
But that's what I mean. Something that ridiculous. They've put all their research and tech into to make this one answer to these.
Yep, it was in the Millennials.
Fuck, I forgot that thing.
Yeah, it was in Final Wars. Operation that. Oh, that's right. It's from another movie, and they bring it into Final Wars. That's right.
Mm.
It's one of those kind of things where, like, because Final Wars was all homages to all the other fucking kaiju films, too.
Mm.
So that's why they toss it into Final Wars. Okay. Makes sense. Final Wars is awesome.
Yep. Yeah, I just googled the flying drill ship.
It is, and from that file, it's called Gotengo.
Gotengo.
Gotengo. Yeah, I just took that out of the file name, and then I went, oh, okay, it's from those movies.
But yeah, let's wrap this shit up. See this movie? See it in
Yes.
theaters. Good sound system. Lovely movie if you're a fan of Godzilla movies. If not, I'd probably if you weren't a big fan of Godzilla movies, I'd still try and see it in theaters because the audio's like awesome for it. But at least still rent it.
I would say it also would help if you're a fan of disaster movies, not specifically monster films.
Mm-hmm. You'd understand it more if you were a Godzilla fan.
Yes.
You'd find
if you're a
things.
big disaster movie fan.
You'd find things a little bit more forgiving if you're a Godzilla fan. Gav, any last words?
Not particularly, no. Just say, look, go see this film. It is definitely worth. You need to see it in the cinemas. It's a giant monster movie. It needs a giant monster screen.
Yeah. Chris? Any first words?
It's a fine movie, guys. You don't need to see it in theaters, I don't think. But if you're interested in it,
I almost kicked him out of the call.
If you want to go see a movie this weekend while the weather's starting to get kind of nice, this is definitely not gonna be a miss.
I would say that you need to see it in theaters just because seeing it at home, it's going to be much crappier.
I think it'll be underwhelming if you see it at home.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's that good of a movie that it's like, you have to get out to theaters to see it.
No, see, I'm saying it from a different perspective. I think it needs to be seen in the movies because this is the kind of movie that you should see in theaters, not at home. So if you're interested, you need to see it in theaters because you're going to like it a lot less if you just see it at home first.
Yeah, it makes sense. And Chris, you have been overruled.
I didn't disagree with that, but okay.
Because I'm not saying you need to see it in theaters because it's a great
I get
movie.
100% what you're saying, and I agree with it. And that's the end of that sentence, period.
Here we go.
All right, guys. Don't